Opening scene: the story begins in the Galactic Council chamber, where alien representatives from dozens of species gather for their monthly meeting. The chamber falls silent when sensors detect massive energy signatures approaching their space station. Commander Vex, a tall reptilian leader, orders the view screens activated. The arrival. Through the vast windows, the council members witness something unprecedented. 3 enormous starships emerge from faster-than-light travel. These vessels dwarf anything the galaxy has ever seen. Each one is over 15 kilometers long, bristling with unknown technology and glowing with barely contained power. Alien reactions: the council erupts in panic and confusion. The insectoid ambassador clique warns that these could be the invasion force from beyond the galactic rim they've feared for centuries. Others argue about whether to attack or flee. Ambassador Thorn, a peaceful plant-based species representative, urges caution. Human introduction: a communication signal cuts through the chaos. The view screen displays Captain Marcus Webb, a middle-aged human with graying hair and calm eyes. He introduces himself and explains that humanity comes in peace, requesting permission to address the Galactic Council. His relaxed demeanor contrasts sharply with the tension in the chamber. First contact. Protocol Commander Vex reluctantly agrees to a meeting, but demands the human ships maintain distance. Captain Webb accepts without argument, which surprises many council members. Most species with such powerful ships would make demands, not requests. The meeting begins. Captain Webb, along with his diplomatic team, Lieutenant Emma Stone and Engineer Rick Mason, shuttle to the council station. As they walk through the corridors, aliens stare in fascination and fear. Humans look similar to several species, but carry themselves differently, confident yet friendly. Humanity's story in the council chamber. Captain Webb explains humanity's journey. 50 years ago, Earth detected the Council's deep space broadcasts. Humanity spent decades developing the technology to travel to the stars. Their massive ships were built not for war, but as generation vessels, entire cities in space, designed to carry millions across vast distances. The technology gap when asked about their ship capabilities. Engineer Mason provides basic specifications. The council members are shocked. Human ships use quantum fold drives, creating stable wormholes for travel. Their shields operate on principles the galaxy hasn't discovered. Their energy output exceeds most species. Total planetary production. Questions and concerns. Ambassador Click demands to know humanity's intentions. Why build such massive, powerful vessels? Captain Webb explains that humans learned early in their space exploration that size matters for long voyages. The ships contain farms, factories, schools, and homes. They're not warships. They're a RKS. Cultural exchange. Lieutenant Stone shares information about Earth, a diverse world with thousands of cultures, languages, and traditions. She explains that humanity almost destroyed itself in wars, but learned to cooperate. The massive ships represent what humans can achieve through unity. The test. Commander Vex, still suspicious, challenges the humans. If they truly come in peace, would they share their technology? Captain Webb pauses, then agrees to share basic propulsion data as a gesture of goodwill. This stuns the council. Most species guard their technological advantages jealously. Ending hook as the first meeting concludes. An urgent message arrives. The Council's deep space sensors have detected a real threat, an unknown hostile fleet approaching from dark space, heading toward the Council's core worlds. They'll arrive in weeks. The same threat that has destroyed 3 civilizations in the Outer Rim. Captain Webb studies the data, then makes an offer that changes everything. Let us help. The council members exchange uncertain glances. They've just met this new species, but humanity's massive ships might be their only hope for survival. Asterisk. The council chamber remained frozen in tense silence after Captain Webb's offer. Commander Vex's yellow eyes narrowed as he studied the human before him. Around the circular table, representatives from 20 different species whispered among themselves, their translators creating a low hum of mixed languages. "You just arrived," Commander Vex said slowly, his forked tongue flickering. "Why would you risk your people for civilizations you know nothing about?" Captain Webb stood straighter, his hands clasped behind his back. "Because it's the right thing to do. We've seen the data you showed us. Entire worlds destroyed. Billions dead. If we have the ability to help and choose not to, what does that say about humanity?" Ambassador Click's compound eyes shimmered with distrust. "This could be a trick. Perhaps these humans are allied with the Dark Space Fleet. They arrive just as the threat approaches? Too convenient." Lieutenant Stone stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "We understand your suspicion. We're strangers here. But think logically. If we wanted to harm you, why announce ourselves? Why ask permission to meet? Our ships alone could have attacked without warning." Ambassador Thorne, the plant-based delegate, rustled his leaves thoughtfully. "The human makes a valid point. Their approach has been peaceful at every turn. Perhaps we should consider their offer." Commander Vex activated the holographic display at the chamber's center. The tactical map showed the approaching hostile Fleet 15 dark red dots, moving steadily toward the Council's inner systems. "Our combined defensive fleet has 40 ships. The enemy has never been defeated. They strike hard, destroy everything, then vanish back into dark space." Engineer Mason studied the hologram, his brow furrowed. "What weapons do they use? What's their tactical pattern?" A military advisor, General Court, manipulated the display. "Plasma cannons, matter disruptors, and something we cannot identify, a weapon that tears through shields like their paper. They attack in tight formations, overwhelming defenses through concentrated firepower. And your counter strategies?" Mason asked. General Court's fur bristled with frustration. "Everything we try fails. Our ships are too slow to evade. Our weapons barely scratch their hulls. We've lost 300 vessels in the last 5 encounters." Captain Webb exchanged glances with his team. "Commander Vex, we need 12 hours to analyze your tactical data and run simulations. In return, we'll share our defensive assessment and recommendations." 12 hours? Click's mandibles clicked sharply. "The enemy arrives in 18 days. What can you possibly learn in half a day that we haven't discovered in years?" "Maybe nothing," Webb admitted. "Or maybe fresh eyes see solutions you've overlooked. What do you have to lose?" The council debated for 20 minutes. Finally, Commander Vex's voice cut through the arguments. "Very well. You'll have access to all tactical records. But Captain Webb, if this is some elaborate deception, your ships will never leave this sector." "Understood," Webb replied without hesitation. Back aboard the human flagship Odyssey, the bridge buzzed with activity. Massive screens displayed battle footage from previous encounters with the Dark Space Fleet. The crew worked in focused silence, analyzing every detail. Lieutenant Stone stood beside Captain Webb at the command platform. "They're terrified," she said quietly. "Did you see how they looked at us? Like we're either their salvation or their doom. Can you blame them?" Webb replied, "They've been fighting a losing war. Then we show up with ships and technology beyond their understanding. They don't know whether to trust us or destroy us." Engineer Mason approached, carrying a data tablet. "Captain, I've finished the preliminary analysis. Their problem isn't courage or tactics. It's fundamental physics. Their ships operate on fusion reactors. The enemy's weapons are designed to overload those specific power signatures. Our quantum reactors operate completely differently," Webb said, understanding immediately. "Exactly. Their weapons might not work the same way against us. But there's more. Mason activated a three-dimensional battle simulation. They fight in linear formations, ship-to-ship combat like naval warfare. The enemy exploits this predictability. Lieutenant Stone leaned closer. And our approach? We trained for asteroid field combat, navigating three-dimensional space at high speeds. Our tactical doctrine is built around mobility and unpredictable movement patterns. Mason's eyes gleamed with possibility. Captain, I think we can actually win this. Webb studied the simulation, watching the human ships dance through space in ways the galactic fleet never attempted. Run it again. I want zero margin for error. We're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. Across the fleet, thousands of humans prepared for their first real test. They'd come to the stars seeking peace and friendship. Instead, they'd found a galaxy at war, desperate for hope. Humanity was about to show them what hope looked like. 14 days passed in a blur of preparation and planning. The human fleet worked alongside the Galactic Council's military forces, sharing tactical data and running joint simulations. What started with suspicion slowly transformed into cautious cooperation. On the bridge of the Odyssey, Captain Webb watched the sensor displays with growing concern. The dark space fleet had accelerated, arriving 3 days ahead of schedule. 15 hostile warships emerged from the void at the edge of the Velar system, home to 12 billion souls. All ships, battle stations. Commander Vex's voice crackled across the communication channels. The Galactic Defense Fleet 40 warships representing. A dozen different species formed. Their traditional battle line between the enemy and the planet. Below. Captain Webb activated his fleet-wide channel. All human vessels, assume formation pattern Delta 7. Remember your training. Stay mobile, protect each other, and trust your instincts. The 3 massive human ships moved with surprising grace for their enormous size. The Odyssey, Horizon, and New Dawn positioned themselves in a loose triangle formation behind the galactic fleet, their shields glowing with barely contained energy. The enemy warships advanced in their characteristic tight formation, dark angular vessels that seemed to absorb light itself. Without warning, they opened fire. Brilliant blue beams of destructive energy lanced across space, slamming into the galactic fleet's forward shields. 2 council ships exploded immediately, their fusion reactors overloading exactly as Engineer Mason had predicted. The remaining vessels returned fire, their weapons splashing harmlessly against the enemy's superior shielding. They're breaking formation. General Court shouted over the tactical channel. Retreat to secondary positions. But the dark space fleet pursued relentlessly, their weapons systematically dismantling the galactic defenses. Within minutes, 8 more council ships were destroyed or disabled. The remaining vessels fell back in disarray, their careful battle plans crumbling under the assault. Captain Webb, Commander Vex's voice held barely controlled desperation. If humanity has solutions, now would be the time. Webb's jaw tightened. All human ships engage the enemy. Execute Plan Phoenix. The 3 massive starships suddenly accelerated, their quantum drives propelling them forward at speeds that made the watching aliens gasp. The Odyssey dove beneath the enemy formation, while the Horizon and New Dawn split left and right, forcing the dark space fleet to divide their attention. The enemy fired, their devastating blue beams striking the human shields. But instead of penetrating, the energy dispersed across the quantum barriers like water hitting stone. Engineer Mason's predictions proved correct. The weapons designed to overload fusion reactors were nearly useless against humanity's different technology. Return fire, Webb ordered calmly. Targeted strikes on their shield generators. The human ships unleashed weapons the galaxy had never seen. Focused particle beams, operating on principles decades ahead of galactic science. punched through the enemy's defenses with surgical precision. The first dark space warship's shields flickered and died, but the real shock came when the human ships began to move in earnest. They twisted and spun through three-dimensional space, executing maneuvers that seemed impossible for vessels their size. The New Dawn rolled completely inverted while firing, presenting different shield faces to absorb incoming damage. The Horizon performed a vertical climb that positioned it perfectly above the enemy formation. The Dark Space Fleet, built for overwhelming firepower in linear combat, struggled to track targets moving in completely unpredictable patterns. Their tight formation, once their strength, became a liability as human weapons targeted multiple ships simultaneously. Lieutenant Stone monitored the tactical display, her voice steady as she coordinated the attack. Enemy flagship shields at 40%. 3 enemy vessels breaking formation. The Horizon reports minor damage to secondary systems. Captain Webb gripped his command chair as the Odyssey accelerated through a gap in the enemy formation. All ships, focus fire on the flagship. Take it down, and the rest may retreat. The 3 human vessels converged on the largest dark space warship, their combined firepower overwhelming its defenses. The enemy flagship's shields collapsed entirely, and follow-up strikes crippled its weapon systems. Without their leader, the remaining dark spaceships hesitated for the first time in recorded galactic history. Then, impossibly, they turned and fled back into dark space, leaving 3 destroyed vessels behind. The galactic fleet sat stunned in the sudden silence. On dozens of bridges across multiple species, the same thought echoed. Humanity had just accomplished in 20 minutes what the galaxy couldn't achieve in years. Commander, Vex's voice finally broke the quiet. Captain Webb, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally request an alliance with humanity. Webb smiled slightly, looking at his exhausted but triumphant crew. Commander, we came to the stars looking for friends. I think we just found them. The end asterisk.